Soundstripe.
Welcome to South End Supporters, the St. Louis City SC podcast powered by Ready to Live Wellness and coming at you from the Warrior Logo Wear Studios. David Heck alongside Eric Cole and the Monday morning center back Dave Wyckoff. Episode 2 of the week, gentlemen, as City travels out west to take on San Diego.
Discovered by the Germans. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I believe, yes, it translates to, well, we're not going to get into that.
It's a family podcast.
Yeah, okay, so the last time you said San Diego, that popped into my head, and I was like, I don't want to say that and be the wrong, because I couldn't think if that was the right quote or not, and I was like, well, either way, I can't say that on the air. But
if it's on the teleprompter, you can.
You read it if it's in the prompter.
Yeah.
It's an expansion, a startup. We've been here before a couple of years ago, and now San Diego joins the MLS as its newest member. They looked pretty good last week. Boys, what can you tell us about this squad?
So, yeah, they looked fantastic on Sunday Night Soccer. In the first installment of Sunday Night Soccer on Apple TV. Did either of you catch the presentation?
Yeah, I had to watch it through my phone. I was at work, so it was kind of, luckily I got to watch most of it, but it's just, I like it. It's a new little, highlight deal, and it's just something that gives a little specialty, I guess you could say, to that particular game on a Sunday night. I thought
yeah. So they took on the reigning defending LA Galaxy, the MLS Cup champions, who I believe have more MLS Cups than any team in the history of the league. They raised a championship tifo before the game, and they had a lot of pomp and circumstance. San Diego didn't care, man. They came out and they just flat out took it to them. So I got to be honest, I looked at the roster before, and there's some, familiar names. Luca De La Torre has got a bunch of American caps, and Chucky Lozano, kind of a modern Mexican international legend. But other than that, it wasn't super. I didn't think that they had picked out a ton of talent. Man, I was completely wrong. They ran roughshod over Galaxy all night. So it's going to be a tough test. They ran a 4-3-3, which will kind of mirror basically what City runs. But the guy that you got to watch out for is the guy that put 2 in the back of the net for them, and that's Dreyer, man. Anders Dreyer, Danish guy. He was phenomenal. He had such a strong game, and I think that capped off a really exciting week of MLS action with probably the goal, what I think was the goal of the week, with a late breaking counterattack run where he actually started the counter with a long pass and then made, Eric, a 60-yard run, a 70-yard run, and then went bar down, game over, 2-0 San Diego.
Yeah, the ball he played was unreal, let alone the finish that he had on it. Yeah, San Diego, man, this is going to be a challenging game. I think it's weird. I'm not comparing it at all. I know people are going to try and do this all throughout the year, but really reminiscent of us, a couple years ago, where not a lot known, no real superstars. I mean, I know Chucky Lozano, he's had a huge career over in Europe, especially with Napoli, a lot of Champions League experience. So he had, he's their poster boy and everything like that. But the big thing is man, you can't get so focused on him because it's just going to open those doors. And that's where Dreyer really found his space, was just a lot of open space. And the other wild thing was, boy, they pressed Galaxy into a lot of mistakes, especially that first goal, and who did that more than anybody their inaugural season? City. And we got known for that, getting a lot of gifted goals. The first goal, was a gifted goal. And so they're going to be a pressing team. What gives me confidence, was seeing how well our defense handled the last game as far as ball distribution and composure on the ball and working the ball around. We have to be that strong on the ball coming into San Diego. They're going to press you and look for those mistakes and cause you to counter. And they're going to look for that counter. So you've got to also be prepared, when you're forward, being mindful of where the runners are on the counter and springing back. The other thing that's going to be really tough about this game is, man, I can't imagine we saw how many fans went to LA Galaxy as far as San Diego. San Diego, they're going to fill that stadium. They're going to be loud. They're going to be super excited. First game for this expansion team at their home. It's going to be a tough atmosphere. It's going to be a tough game for us going there. So don't look at this as an expansion team, like to your point, that not a huge amount of names. It's going to be a tough game going forward, and it's going to be a challenging play style to kind of combat.
They showed out so well in LA. I was so impressed and how the fans were there and they were loud, they were raucous, and they stuck around afterwards. And it was cool to see some of the videos on Twitter and Instagram of like Chucky going and giving the kid the jersey and just going and signing for everybody. So seems like they're doing it right. I want to ask you, Eric, a little bit about, you know, how do you think City will respond to that pressure? Because I think one of the reasons that Leuven in particular had so much success against Colorado was all the time and space that he had. Now, City are likely to run that, you know, three-ish man midfield. I would imagine it'll be Edu, Watts, and probably Cello again. Although Cello playing more of like a withdrawn striker. How do you think that they hold up to that pressure? Because we didn't see that from Colorado.
Yeah, here's what I want to see, and take it for a grain of salt, Olaf. I want to see experience in this starting 11. I want to see people who can, handle. We play indoor a lot, and what are the teams that do the best against those young kids? Or if it's not an over 30 league or whatever, it's just an open adult league.
Seems like
When
a
you see a
shot.
when you
I
see
mean, you were
some
talking about
college,
Dave's experience in indoor soccer earlier, so whatever
It
Dave's
seems
doing must be right.
but what it is you'll see these college kids fresh out of college. They'll come into these games, and then you'll see a bunch of old timers on the other side, and you'll think, oh man, like they're gonna run under this pressure. And the old timers just they play their positions, they keep their shape, they don't get out of shape, and they just work the ball around and let those young guys run, and eventually they take over. What I did notice in the game is as the game grew on, LA grew into the game, and you could kind of see it was a little bit of tired legs. So what I want to see us do is throw some experience out there, get our veteran players that can handle that pressure, those guys that have been playing over in Europe that have seen bigger. I want to see Wallem in the starting lineup. He was used to that immense pressure over in Europe. I'd like to see him in there. Same as Horn. I just want to see that composure, especially on the defense, being able to work the ball around to allow Leuven that space to find himself open, and then we go forward. The other thing I'd like to see is with those tired legs is maybe a little bit of earlier subs that we could throw fresh legs at their tired legs and kind of counteract that as the game goes on. I think it's going to be a survive the first 30 minutes of just an onslaught of these guys running at you. But I think if we can manage our composure and eventually find those spaces open, especially for like Leuven or Hartle to then do their work creatively, hopefully Klaus can have himself another great game of working off the ball as well. And then we finally just put the ball in the back of the net. That's where I see City can be successful. But if we get out of shape, where we start, beating ourselves with just giveaways and stuff like that, San Diego's going to pounce and they can finish the ball.
I think what's most likely to happen is you are going to have San Diego running at Leuven with multiple players, running at Cello with multiple players to run them off the ball. So I'm going to kind of go a different direction than you. I'm going to say it's not so much the experienced guys, it's the support players. So if you end up with, that same back three of Kess, Yarrow, and Hebert, which I don't know that you're going to see. That you might see a little bit of tweaking, but the three of them being able to distribute the ball, and then Akil Watts, who had a really strong game against Colorado, but really wasn't asked to carry the bulk of the distribution. He did a little bit more of running forward with Tots on the right side. That's where I think the game's going to be won and lost, are the guys that are the supporting players in distribution, are they able to carry the load if Edu and Cello get run off the ball? David, let me ask you something about this San Diego team and a home opener for them. We've all three of us have watched a lot of sports over our lifetimes, and the one thing that you can say about an inaugural game is there's a lot of hype and there's a lot of energy that goes into the prep and being a player in a new environment and new fans, and you get that early surge. Do you think that there's an opening for City to kind of capitalize on weather that early storm and wait for sort of that adrenaline crash that comes with a lot of big games? I go back to thinking about the St. Louis Blues' first Stanley Cup game in 50 years and how they just got run out of the building at home during the finals. Do you think that there's opportunity there for City?
Yeah, I think that there's going to be some contributing factors there for sure, and it's a good point. If the crowd shows up in San Diego and it's amped up and there's a lot of energy and they can sustain that for a long period of time, that can make it challenging, I think. I don't think it's an enviable situation for City to walk into to have to play this team in its first home game ever, right? Like, I think that that's a tough task. But to your point, yeah, I think there's like a fighter, right, going into round 3 and 4 and a championship round, right? Like there is an adrenaline dump that can come with that. So I think that it's certainly possible, and it's something that City's going to have to capitalize on. So when you're getting 5 shots on net like you did against Colorado, you're going to have to find one in the back of it at some point. So as long as you can come out, like you said, and weather the storm early, maybe you play a little, Ali rope-a-dope, not to go back to the fighting analogy, but if you can weather it and you can figure out a way to capitalize later on in the game, then perhaps. I'm really curious what the line's going to be on this, and I haven't looked yet to see where we're at, but it's going to be interesting thinking that this is a team that is brand new essentially as an expansion club in the MLS, and you think about where City was even when they were winning early on. They were underdogs in almost all of those games, continue to be underdogs for most of the season, right? And were underdogs in pretty much every game they were on the road in last year. I'm curious as to where this line would be if you've got something, Dave, on FanDuel or DraftKings. I haven't looked yet, but if City comes into this at plus money, I think that that's a very interesting proposition. Very interesting bet to take.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Eric. I'm sorry.
Well, while you're looking, here's the other point to your point of weathering the storm. One thing that we struggled with early in that first season was, and what we need to capitalize on as well, is it's taken us 3 years to build this depth that we have as far as off the bench. You got to look at when you're weathering the storm, they're going to put their best foot forward in that starting 11 to run you. And being an expansion team, you don't really have that depth to then bail you out or get you something later on in the game. So we saw that a lot in our inaugural season, and even really last year with the lack of depth and struggle there. So one thing that we do need to also keep into mind is we do have a lot more depth. It's a good problem to have, whereas they're going to take a couple years to hopefully build that. So like you said, weathering the storm and then utilizing our depth to kind of put them away towards the end of that.
FanDuel in the three-way money line has San Diego FC plus 110, STLSC plus 200, tie plus 270. So there's definitely some value to be had there. They don't have a really good over/under yet on there.
So you're saying you're getting 2 to 1 if you factor in the tie.
Yeah,
you're getting 2 to 1 on your money with City. I mean, I think that's interesting, right? Like that's certainly intriguing. I didn't know what to expect, honestly. But I think if you can get them at plus money like that, especially 2 to 1, like that seems like a pretty good bet. We don't give betting advice here, Dave or Eric.
No, we're simply degens who are very good at it.
Did you put any other bets other than City to win in the last one, like corners or your?
Yeah, it's a good question. I do love betting corners. I stayed away from it. I thought the line was high. It was 9.5, and they only ended up with 6 total. So, or maybe 7, something along those lines. It was short. It was short of it. In the first half, there were virtually none. It was a big flurry of them in the second half, all pretty much coming on that south end. But I stayed away from it. I'll probably get back into it. I'm sure. I love betting them. It's just fun. So
Vegas expects there to be goals scored in this game. You've got at the over under of 1.5. The over is minus 700. With an over/under of 2.5, the over is minus 186. So Vegas has got this one 2 or 3 goals total to be scored between both teams is what it looks like.
Yeah, that's a fun one too. Like I like the bets where I don't feel emotionally involved in the score outcome. So if I just bet the over/under and a lot of goals happen, I'm content. That's great. If I bet corners and a lot of corners happen, that's great. If I bet City and they lose, then it's like, man, that's That sucks because it kind of sucks both ways, right? So typically like to stay away from the result. I did it this last time because I thought City at home with this squad that looked really good at the end of the year, new coach, minus 120, it felt pretty good. Fairly close to even money. It just didn't pay off. But typically, I don't like to bet the money lines most of the time. In this situation, unless I'm getting plus odds. In this situation, at plus 200, if that's what it comes in at, then I'll probably consider it.
Maybe
How in depth do they bet? Like, can you bet on whether there will be a tifo or not? Because I think that would be the
don't-
Eric, you can
I
bet on
don't see
anything.
that one.
You
Well,
just
I
got to
know,
find the
but,
right
like,
person. You got to find the right
Yeah.
person to take it.
I was say like you're betting coin flips and whether guys have towels in the Super Bowl, but like it seems like they're behind on MLS. Shout out Brendan McSorley, but like didn't know if like TiVos and all that were options and stuff like that.
I would bet that the tifo for San Diego in their home opener is probably like a minus 10,000. Like there's going to be one.
By the
that
way,
one's-
I
yeah,
forgot to
minus-
bring this up. What do you think going forward? The like I had it. I only saw one, but over under on the amount of Energizer Bunny costumes that you see at
Oh,
the
whatever it
stadiums
is, ship the
throughout
over.
There should have been some on Saturday because it was freezing. That would have been the time to
perfect,
wear
right?
I saw a
one.
couple.
Yeah.
The other bet I was thinking on that night is how many shirtless dudes you were going to see, even though it was still cold. Like, I didn't. That's always a safe bet. But do you think San Diego's missing out if they don't do some sort of Anchorman Tifu to kick it off? Like, I mean, that just
Strong.
Well,
That'd be strong.
Anchorman himself is a part owner of LAFC, so I don't know how that would play down in San Diego.
Yeah, but who isn't an owner of LAFC? Like,
That's true.
geez.
So yeah, it looks like Vegas has got the line somewhere in 2 to 3 goals, and San Diego's slightly favored. I'm gonna be a homer this week, and I'm gonna go 2-1 City. I think they break out of the early goalless drought, and I think I'm gonna go with Simon Betcher again. He had the opportunity to score. I think he could have scored at least one. He could have had match ball had he really had things fallen the right way for him. So give me 2-1 City on the road. I know it's not really it didn't really pay off well on the road last year, but I think the adrenaline dump is real. I think San Diego will probably find a way to score at some point because I think although the defense was improved, I don't know that Colorado offered a lot, or at least anything what San Diego is going to offer coming forward. So give me 2-1 City on the road.
Eric, you got a prediction on this? Because I'm going to make one as well.
I'm gonna go 2-1 as well. I think it's gonna be. I think City are gonna grab one early. Just playing off of like the over commitment, we'll say, to press and stuff. I think we'll find a good way to counter on that and hopefully finish one off. I think San Diego will get another one by the half, but I hope us wearing them down, and as the game goes on, we finish out with a 2-1 victory. I don't really see too many changes just with availability and fitness levels to our starting 11, so that's going to be an interesting one to see if he does switch anything up as far as the starting 11, especially with travel out west.
I'm going to go 3-1, and here's why. All right, I like the 2-1 prediction. We want to win, but I think the 3-1 play, and this is the reason why, because I feel like we've already written this book a little bit, right? An expansion team that come out and presses heavily, like this was kind of what City was known for in their
Who do they
opening
think they
season,
are?
right?
I would say, do you think there's any sort of bit as far as like City being like, we're shutting this down? Because
Yeah, I do. I
we're
do
the
think
expansion team that people are going to talk about, not you guys. Like
a little
something
bit.
like-
And I think because how much they're likely practicing this style or have practiced this style over the last couple of seasons, and you got a lot of fresh faces, but there's still a lot of guys who were around in that opening season anyway, right? I think City's going to catch them on a counter a couple of times and punish this press. If there's one team in this league, hey, like it or not, right? Like they play it, and if there's one team in this league that knows it, it's St. Louis City. So my prediction is there's going to be some counter goals scored, and it's going to be a lot of fun, a lot of energy, and 3-1. Let's ship it.
Ship it.
the
City, you're
coffee on,
hungry.
boys.
City, you're hungry for goals, hungry for 3 points. I'm hungry right now. You know where I wish I could go? I think they're closed right now. I might have to go check them out tomorrow, though. If you're hungry, go visit our buddy Eric over at STL Kalachi in Sunset Hills, at 1530 South Kirkwood Road at the intersection of Kirkwood Road and Watson next to Highway 44. As we've talked about before, this particular STL Kolache is the home of the chicken enchilada kolache, which is seasoned chicken with diced onions, tomatoes, enchilada sauce, chilies, and cheese. Man, that would hit the spot right now. If you can't get one for yourself, get one for a friend or a client or a family member, or just buy somebody you love a gift card. And if you're looking for somebody to cater your event, they can cater anything from work gatherings to baby showers, graduation parties, you name it. Eric is a solid guy, so go check him out, 1530 South Kirkwood Road at the intersection of Kirkwood Road and Watson next to 44. STL Kolache, we make breakfast better.
Make breakfast better. And Eric, this Eric, not Eric from St. Louis Kolache Company, but whenever you eat a lot of kolaches, you got to work that off, brother.
Yeah, you do. And perfect place to go after you grab a bag of those kolaches is a different 1530. It's over at Ready to Live Wellness. You can go check them out where you can get any style workout that you're looking for to tailor towards your needs, make you feel the best that you can, whether it's CrossFit or personal training, they've got you covered, as well as making sure that body is moving smooth and feeling the best it can. Go check out their masseuses, body movement specialists, as well as PTs. It's all under one roof, and it's one place to go. It's Ready to Live Wellness.
It's Ready to Live Wellness at 1530 South Kings Highway Boulevard in St. Louis. Make sure to check them out. Well, it's going to be a trip out west on Saturday, March 1st. These Pacific start times kill me. Like, I can't wait to move into the Eastern Conference at some point if that ever happens. San Diego, I'm sure, is wonderful. Dave, I know you've visited it several times. I've never been before, but I would anticipate there being a few, anyway, St. Louis fans that make their way out there and extend the weekend out a little bit, or get maybe a quick vacation here as we enter into spring. I know the weather's beautiful, and they have a lot to offer. I'm not a lot more than St. Louis, I can't imagine, but it should be a nice place to visit and watch some soccer this weekend. But a 9:30 Central start, that's brutal. But another Western Conference swing.
A lot of people call St. Louis the San Diego of the Midwest.
I've heard that.
Or not.
I've heard that. Well, you've got the river right there, and not just the Mississippi. The Missouri's close by. You got River de Pere that's lovely that flows through the city.
The
Just
confluence
2 words in the name.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
practically
really nice. Well, moving on to the only segment on this show that matters, in my opinion, and that's the Felix's Pizza Pub South End submissions. There's so many to get to, Eric. People have spoken, and they want more submissions. We're dedicating so much time to this. Before we get into it, I want to address something. We are recording this, and this is going on YouTube. That's correct, right?
Hopefully. You
Hopefully.
know how we are with technology.
Okay, so there's a chance.
that is the goal.
These episodes don't actually make it to air on video. Then is what you're saying.
There's a chance these episodes don't make it to audio, video.
Oh, don't say that.
It wouldn't be the first time. We've screwed this up before.
Don't say that.
I didn't know we were recording last week until after the episode was over, and I think I was doing all sorts of things in the back. You got to tell me these. I didn't sign off on it. I feel like I didn't give my consent to be put on video, but nonetheless,
as was discussed, much like a very famous South Park episode, you didn't read the fine print. You just agreed to it
You're
with
right.
an F it, go for it. And next time you'll read the fine print.
Quote.
Yeah, it happens. Eric, where I know that people were submitting on Facebook, people are submitting on Instagram, people are submitting on Reddit now. Our friends Femney and Sly Fox and others. Did Sly Fox make his way over there to see you at 149?
No. Did they
He
say
was
they were going
supposed to.
Yeah,
Oh.
well, no, Sly Fox was not at the game. Sly
Was-
Fox will be at
okay.
the game on March 15th. So
'Cause
we
he's-
will. They
Sly
moved
Fox
to
is South End.
149.
Yeah.
Yep. So we'll make an effort to go to meet them at the March 15th game for sure.
Well,
Here's
that'll
a
be good.
real tough thing about Reddit and kind of like or Twitter as well, but like Instagram and Facebook, like you can kind of get a face attached typically to a name. Sly Fox and Femney, like they could come out of nowhere and we'll have no idea.
Femney might be a bot. Femney might be a bot, dude. Femney is an AI, I think. I'm not for sure.
Femini is everyone. And
I'll tell you
Femini
this:
is no
if
one.
anybody ever streaks on the field, my first thought is going to be
That's
Femney.
Femney.
No,
Gotta be
Femini's
right
too
there.
cool for that.
I'm not
Femni's
sure.
too
I'm not sure
I tell you
Femney
this much.
even knows anything about the club or the sport or anything. He might just be a Redditor that's found
Femini's
us.
too mysterious.
Well,
Yeah.
we'll know it's coming because the week prior they'll put out a submission being like, what is your favorite? How close can you get to the field, and what sections of the field are there in City Park? I'm just curious and asking for my draft.
Femny has spoken this week, by the way.
Oh boy, I
Oh
can't
boy,
wait.
I
Well,
can't wait.
Felix is not only a great sponsor of this program, but is an official City on Tap sponsor, or bar, I should say, for this upcoming season. So congrats to them. That's exciting. It'll be a great place to watch the game in San Diego this weekend. Eric, give us some submissions, brother.
Let's kick it off with our man, the South States border. He's back, Jeff Thornborough. He said, a few of my takeaways. The team looked really nice for an opening day. Probably the best technical and tactical play I've seen out of them from early season, especially opening day. I was looking forward to see Totland running the attacking winger from the 3-5-2. His play didn't disappoint. Morales looked very smooth and comfortable, great addition, and the light show was freaking awesome. I get goosebumps watching all the videos that the fans posted, and being there live was a great experience.
Jeff
I agree.
Thornborough is a great Jeff Thornborough is a great American, great guy. Love that he comes up from like Cape Girardeau, I think, or
It was something
somewhere.
like 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
He drives.
but man, he's in the stadium every weekend, and so amazing supporter for sure. He's spot on. A lot of great energy. I thought we talked about the light show in the last episode. I thought it was amazing. I hope they continue to do cool things like that. I don't know if that's something you do every week. Probably not. Be more of a special occasion, but I want to see it again. That's for sure because I thought it was just a great way to kick off the season.
Yeah, I think big games, just
Yeah.
as much as you like think about Tifus for like big games, like something like that, just to get the crowd going, get
Yeah.
like people riled up and fired up. But like, yeah, like I touched on, like hearing that song in connection with, like I said, it was the World Cup anthem for a while, and then hearing that with the light show, it was
And
just awesome. And the other cool thing that I found is with concerts nowadays, bigger concerts anyway, is seeing the different like us, it was like, oh, that's a Coldplay. Whereas my wife was like, this is giving Taylor Swift Eras tour because they did the same thing. I found it interesting. There's like three different artists that I've seen other people saying like this is feeling like this. So it's cool also that different people could relate it to all sorts of different like music and stuff.
Yeah, and just the way that it was different, and again, I said it last episode, but very aesthetically pleasing. This is going to be probably an unpopular opinion, or maybe not amongst soccer people, but I don't like putting the signs over my head. That doesn't do anything for me. I know it gives off a cool aerial view potentially for a picture, but you can't see anything when you're doing that. You're just standing there holding something over your head. To me, it seems silly. This was much better. Everybody was engaged. Everybody was watching it. There were a lot of oohs and ahs. The music was really good. So to me, like, this is the way to do it. And you've got Energizer as a sponsor now, so there should be no shortage of lights and batteries and all fun stuff like that.
That and the wristband was a little easier carrying out of the stadium than the big
Agreed.
cardboard piece or whatever it was. But I agree with you there. As far as like you enjoying it in stadium was much more than
Yeah.
compared to holding the thing up over the head. Next, we'll go to our man Tommy Beck. He said, "What are your guys' thoughts on the formation?" Also, I've been listening to Unfiltered Soccer podcast and have concluded that the Monday morning center back and Tim Howard are voice doppelgangers. Don't know if it's an actual thing, but it is now. Boy, I now that you say that, I don't know. I don't really hear it, but I don't know.
I don't know. I
Dave?
listen to a lot. I don't know. Well, here's the thing. I don't know what my voice sounds like because your own voice, sounds like a different filter. It sounds like it's filtered differently. I don't think I sound like Tim Howard.
I don't. Now that I don't hear it. Now that he said that,
I'll tell
I'm
you,
trying to
Tim
listen
Howard
to it,
couldn't
I
do a
don't hear it.
Kalachi live read like you, Dave. That's for sure.
Well, no, I appreciate that compliment. I really do. But to be fair, I couldn't play and I couldn't play a keeper like he could. So everybody has their strengths. It is what it is. But I appreciate that, Tommy Beck, despite you being a gooner.
We didn't answer his question either. We just made the
had a
observation.
question?
Yeah, there was a thought on the formation, I believe.
Oh,
I
on
think
the formation,
I
I
think
loved
if it's
it.
if
Yeah.
it's the personnel, if it's
Yeah.
the personnel, we have
I
that
love a
personnel
back
and it
three.
sticks with it. Whereas I think, the other thing I like and what Olive touched on in preseason is we have the personnel as well to fluidly switch formations as the game goes on and not just get, pinholed into this is the formation. I think, Dave, you kind of really hit it last week where it's the formation is just a number, but how we incorporate it as in different situations throughout the game is what truly matters. And I think it's fitting our personnel the way he had it run that game.
Yeah,
So
I love a back
I
three.
like it.
Whether it's a 3-4-3, a 3-5-2, whatever it is, I feel like that gives you the most versatility. So, no, I love the formation.
Yep. Next, we'll go to Terry Weaver Harkey. She said, "What chant from the supporter section, the north end, is easiest for the south end to join in? What chant do you feel gets the whole stadium involved, STL aside?" That's a good question. So the toughest part, obviously, is just the time difference from sound. So it's always tough to try and like match it up. And I know the North End gets so mad at us about that because they always think we're not participating. And it's like we're trying, man. It's just we're a little behind on what you're at. I think everybody enjoys the good old Other in Scarlet, the Berkey.
The Berkey
He's
chant's
in Your
great.
Head.
He's in your
I
head,
think
yeah.
that one is a universally like everybody kind of gets into it. As far as like gets the whole stadium involved, it's hard to get outside of the just that STL, that post goal STL.
It's good.
That's the
My son's favorite is the Vamos Vamos St. Louis. That's his favorite one.
That's a good one.
I'm not sure he knows what they're saying. I think he just kind of mumbles the first couple of words to it, but he enjoys it. And that one's pretty good. It's easy. You know, there's some that are really complex, and I didn't appreciate it until I stood in the supporter section because, like, they're saying things over there that you can't hear in other parts of the stadium either. So, like, even parts of chants that don't, I feel like they're not, like, projected by everybody, or maybe there's other people doing different things. It just, like, doesn't make it everywhere. You can appreciate it more when I was sitting in the Together Credit Union Club this past week. So I was on the west side, albeit more towards the south end, but still closer, certainly closer than where our typical seats are on 149. So I can hear it a little bit more, but it's still it's tough. I mean, I don't know if there's one that could make it all the way around the stadium in unison. To your point, like the sound travels at different levels too, so it would be really hard, I think, to keep that together.
I mean, the ones that are easiest to participate in, like just in England, like the one that stands out to me the most is the "Come On You Spurs," and even that one you can hear it on TV. It's a little bit echoey, right? So I would compare that one to most to like the STL, to where there's going to be a little bit of a delay and sort of an echo, but. Yeah, I think the simpler the better, man. That's to be honest. And just in general, the simpler the better. I'm not down with complicated chants and songs, and I don't need to do the. Yeah, I'm not. I'm just gonna say I'm not a fan of the new one that goes that plays off the Euros and the thing that Netherlands was doing in the Euros. What's that one called, Eric? I can't even remember it. Like I thought it was cool when they were doing it in the fan plaza, but I just don't think that plays in a stadium.
I think the more complicated you get, it's tougher when we were talking about a lot of new people coming into the stadium and
Yeah.
trying to get it in unison and stuff. I think to your point, the simpler ones, the better. And one of those ones that stands out is any free kick or any corner kick, that shoot it. Like everybody
Yeah.
can kind of just keep it simple. I think you're closer to getting it in unison
Yeah.
if you kind of
Listen, we're in our infancy as a nation for soccer, right? Like they're chanting is not really a thing in American sports, right? Like you've got the wave, and like you've got like college football and college basketball have their own little niche sort of things, but overall, like there aren't a lot of chants that have you ever gone at like baseball games, or
No,
there's a really simple "Let's Go Blues" at a Blues game. That one seems to play pretty well.
It's a different sport, and when people ask me that don't know soccer and haven't had a chance to attend a game, I equate it like to a college football environment. I think it's the closest American sport because you've got a band, albeit we don't have a full band, but there's certainly some percussion going on there, and so it's similar in some ways to that. And the way that you hear there is some chanting going on and things that they're saying in college football games too that go along with what the band's putting out there. To me, it is similar. Like there are parallels there. It is unique in a sense, and as time goes on, Americans will adopt it more. It is fun. The kids seem to really like it, and when I know what they're saying on the north end, I typically join in as well.
I like over in England where most of the chants are just directed towards the opposing team's players.
I like that too.
Not
I would like
nice.
to do more of
Oh,
that.
Watching
listen,
little
they get
5-year-olds yell at Suarez would
yeah,
be
they
way
get
more fun.
they get real personal
Oh,
sometimes.
they get very personal.
Yeah,
But they're fun.
yeah.
Oh, I will also say, I want to say this. I want to say one thing. So again, I was sitting on the west side last week. The southwest corner of the stadium during the opposing corner kick, I think there was one that was over there, was so loud. They were just booing like crazy. And it reminded, I don't appreciate, the stadium is so, the pitch is so big, right? It's like you can't hear certain parts of it. So to the same point, you struggle to hear the north end from the south end. I struggle to hear the southwest corner on corner kicks as well, but I can vouch for them. They are just as loud as we are on the southeast corner, Eric, and they did a great job screaming at whoever was that took that corner.
South End needs a little more love.
Agreed.
South End needs a little more love. Next, we'll go to a great one from Patty Brinson. She said, if you were to make a Tifo, what would your design be?
Oh, it's real simple for me. It would be Dave biting into a roller grill item. and some sort of pun,
What you
insert
need to
pun
have
that
is-
goes with that.
No, what you need to do is have Dave and then just the mouth open, and then the other fans come running in with a roller grill
I
item,
like
and
that.
it just perfectly fits
Just-
into the mouth.
Just a
as it
pork
goes
egg
down.
roll sliding down the hatch.
Oh my gosh,
That's
that
the
sounds
answer.
Wonderful.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
my Tifo.
That's really good. I was gonna say
think
you and I could do a Lady and the Tramp sitch where we're eating the roller grill item from each end.
It starts from the east and west, and then it just slowly works
I like
its way
that.
in the middle.
That's really
It's hot,
good.
too. Yeah.
Those are
Yeah.
two great ones. I think what would just make me smile and the rest of the stadium would hate it would just be seeing the South End supporters logo going up on the north end.
Oh
I just
my
think that would be
gosh.
so funny, just that going up. and
It
Just,
went up on the north end.
just not telling them what it is, and it's just going up on the north end. It's just like
Yeah, I
be
think
good.
that a tribute to Sergio Aguero's goal that
Oh.
won the Premier League on the last day of the season, and then like on the west or the TV side that the camera faces, you just all the letters Aguero and let it wrap all the way around the stadium. I think that would be incredible.
Just to troll
then-
one human being in that entire stadium.
then-
Not just one. There's
There's several.
There would be several.
No, and then you light it on fire, and then it's just showing the 20 trophies that we've won in the league, and then also the 100. Everybody else on the other hand holds up 115 charges that are going to rebuke those championships.
Listen, as someone that's officially been a part of a Tifo before, finding myself in one, those are all great suggestions, and I feel like I can say that with my level of experience in that part of the game.
I tell you what, if City does just happen to put up that Aguero thing, my participation in going to City games may dwindle quite dramatically. If I'm like, boy, that feels like a personal shot, doesn't it? Oh man.
Oh gosh, there was
Next,
some
we'll make-
rumors about Balotelli coming to the MLS soon. Just so you know, you get excited about that.
So he can miss a backheel goal like he did.
Or
in
set
that
up
one
an
friendly against the
important goal.
Galaxy. Terrible. Next, we'll make our way over to Instagram and we'll kick it off with our man Fetlord Colton or Colton Cook. He said, Watts and Betcher stood out the most to me. Who stood out to you? I think to me it was Kess. Just
Agreed.
the way he just kind of orchestrated that defense, we'll say. The way he just handled the center of the park. He just kind of kept them all in line. But to me, as an unsung hero on the night, our defense really just shut them down, and I think he was a big part of that. So for me, it was Kess's play.
I'm gonna say Totland. Totland was playing with so much freedom on that right side. Like he looked great. He wasn't too far away from a goal. He had a shot blocked
that
on a
shot.
set piece, and then skied the deflection over the net. No, I thought he looked great, and on the broadcast they talked about how much freedom that this 3-5-2 is going to give him because he's got a lot less defensive responsibility now. So I thought it was Tots, and I'll give a shout out to Klaus too, man, because when we talked about him in our previous show, I thought he was on fire. He was all over the field. I would like to see him be more assertive in attack. Like I think if anybody's got the leeway to go ahead and pop one from 20, it's him. So I'd like to see him do that. But yeah, Tots and Klaus, man.
Yeah, I think kind of like we touched on, I don't think anybody really had a bad game. So I don't think anybody who you shouted out throughout that night, you could say, yeah, argue against that.
Yep.
Next, we'll go to our man Stephen Pena or Ed LaPlay. He said, "Was our defense that solid, or was Colorado that bad?"
I don't have it. I don't know. The defense looked pretty good to me. It's crazy to think that they only had 2 shots the entire game. So something was happening that they weren't even advancing into City's defensive third very often, or if they were, they weren't getting shots off. So to me, to your point, like you could have probably picked a lot of guys for City that had really good performances. And Dave, you hit on it last week, the way Leuven played, and I think it was either Fetlord, I think it was Fetlord that said Watts had a really strong performance too. The midfield must have been doing something really well because they weren't just advancing the ball.
They're strong through the middle. They were. There were a couple times that the middle broke down, but those progressive passes through the middle that burned us so many times last year were just not there. And when they were there, the back three were there to clean it up. And Kess was taking out the trash if anything broke through the back three too. So I think it was probably a little bit of both, but I think I lean more to giving credit to the defense.
Yeah, and I want to give credit to the defense more so just because the things that they did so well against us last time with Cabral's dribbles and finding the space and then Bassett and all that is what we shut down completely this time. So to me, just seeing that improvement against a team with the same personnel and danger is where I was very impressed with our defense. Where there's still mistakes for sure, but compared to the past few times we saw Colorado, it was a huge improvement for me. Next, we'll hit on Clinton 2084. They said, "Why do you think St. Louis sports radio stations almost refuse to talk about City?" This is more in your guys' realm here.
So I will say that the morning after had a segment dedicated specifically to City on Friday morning. I think it was Thursday or Friday morning. Matt Seebeck was in studio with the morning after crew with McKernan and Martin and those guys, and he sat in for half an hour, 45 minutes. He brought them all kits, and he talked about the new food there and the experience and the new players. So I think that it's just going to take time, man. And when you don't have, when it's still a niche sport, and there's no money in radio anyway. So what little money that they have and resources they have, they're going to dedicate to the things that are most important to St. Louis sports fans right now. And right now, that's the Cardinals and the Blues and the NFL and the NBA to a lesser extent. And then you've got STL City down there. And, you know, it's important to us and it's important to our fan base, but it hasn't quite reached the mainstream importance that it could if they were to go on another run like they did in the inaugural year. But I thought that was huge that the morning after had that big segment Matt Seebeck on Friday.
So I believe that, and I do have opinions on this as well. Like I believe Seebeck and Tim were business partners. I could be wrong on this. But
I think you're right.
I think Seebeck was involved in InsideSTL.com in its infancy and did some blogging on there potentially at one point. But I do think that Tim and Matt were involved. I could be totally wrong on that, but I think that he was.
They're at very least friends
in some capacity. Yeah. I think so. Tim also did a segment. I don't know if he's still doing it, but on Balloon Party where he'd have Taylor Twellman on. So that was being talked about as well. So that was the show that comes on after the morning after. I don't even know if that's still a show. To be honest with you, I don't listen to a lot of sports talk radio anymore. I don't listen to much terrestrial radio at all. You know, there's a lot of podcasts out there. I listen to Spotify a lot if I want music. And if I want something to listen to, there's so many niche podcasts that exist that you can find. And I'm not just promoting our brand. Like there's a lot of other soccer podcasts that exist out there if you want to listen to soccer. I, as someone that used to be in that business, right, going back a lot of years, you can't please everyone. That's just the reality. And whether you like it or not, you know, they are going to try and please the masses. There's more interest in the Blues, and there's more interest in the Cardinals spring training and going into that season right now than there is in soccer, just as a whole. And I know that's hard to believe for people, but in this community and in most communities in the United States, it takes a backseat to the other major revenue driving sports that exist out there. And then to my point, and I'll get off my soapbox on this, if the sport were readily available to be watched by the masses, it would get more coverage locally. I promise you.
Have you ever brought that up before? I don't know if we ever discussed that.
No, we've never talked about it. But that's a fact. I mean, you call it what it is. The contract, the more I think about it with Apple, is it stunts the growth of the league. And if you want to be able to see this sport or hear this sport covered on terrestrial local radio stations more, it needs to be able to be viewed, because there's probably people that are working at the radio station that don't subscribe to the MLS package on Apple TV. So they're not even watching the full game. Like, so how are they supposed to talk about it? They can't just find it. It's more difficult than that. And I want to say one more thing on this topic. All right, one more thing on this. And this is it. I went to Apple on my phone on Saturday night because we were watching, or sorry, on Sunday, because I wanted to watch the recap of the game, right? So I go on my phone to watch it, and I'm on the homepage on the Apple app, right? The Apple TV app, and I'm scrolling through, like, trying to find MLS. Like, I'm looking for it, and it's like Apple TV and then paid movies and TV shows and all these things, and I'm like, where is MLS? And I click another button, and I can't get there. I felt like an old, right? Like, trying to navigate this app, and I couldn't do it. Finally, I click the search button, and then it pops up. But it's like, even in its own platform, it's hard to find. They make it too difficult, and that's why the sport does not receive the attention in the States as it should.
No, I 100% agree with you for the first point being the TV accessibility for them to be able to see it. And it's not just you. I remember I went to go watch some stuff a couple weeks ago on as far as MLS and Apple, and it's like, yeah, you got to search it out to find it. It's not as readily accessible as far as finding it.
Even in its own application.
Right. Even on the TV, it's a little easier, but on the phone, there was a few times where I was like, maybe it's not phone access. I don't know if, like, what the deal is. So to your point, it's not readily available, and even when you have it, it's kind of like you have to be looking for it, not just a casual person's going to stumble upon it. The other thing is, I think, as far as locally, in my opinion, that'll really help it get that exposure is, I think at some point we have to have some sort of postseason success to get people talking about it around the town. Not
Correct.
Just, did you hear they won the other night or something like that? I think for the casual fan to be excited, it's, hey, we won that first playoff game. We won that. We're on to X round. That's the type of stuff that I think will get, like, the casuals, like, I relate it to, like, and I know a lot of people are huge into college basketball throughout the year. I don't really get into it until March Madness, and even still, it's like, let's get through that first couple, and then let's see who's going on it. I think as far as, like, just locally and getting the casual fan outside of, like, people like us into it, and radio especially, postseason success, I think, is going to be something that's a driving factor.
It's a great point. And the postseason in the MLS, at least the way that the season is structured currently, coincides perfectly with getting a lot of potential media coverage locally, at least in St. Louis, because baseball's over with at this point. College basketball in November is, like, just kicking off. The NHL season is fairly new at this point as well. There is no NFL football here. There is no NBA football, even though that season is kind of just kicking off at that point as well. So there's nothing else really to talk about. I think you're right, Eric. If they were to make some sort of a big run in the postseason, there would be plenty of media coverage. There wouldn't be a lot else to talk about, and that could potentially carry momentum into the next season.
Yeah. Hopefully that changes here in the near future. Next, we'll go to Eric O'Donnell, or EGOMR04. On Instagram. He said, so many submissions, so little time. It was great actually meeting 1/3 of the podcast team. It was great meeting you as well. Sorry I had to pee like a racehorse and I couldn't spend more time, but if I would have even spent 5 more seconds talking to you, I wouldn't have made the second half because I would have had to go home with wet pants. He said, I'm over Klaus, aka Crazy Legs, at 2 different times Saturday. It looked like he had his back turned to the ball. Number 3, the light show was awesome. Number 4, I'm tired of 0-0 games. And finally, just for laughs, don't you think we should be shouting, "Oh, Miso Horn" to Horn when he plays? Classic play on the Miso Horny song by Two Live Crew. Said it twice to my 23-year-old son, told me to never speak again, so of course now I'm going to do it more.
I like it.
Classic dad move.
I want to know your guys' opinion on this. This would be very tough. How would you feel, David? This is more directed towards you. You're a big American sports fan, and how would you feel about personalized goal celebration songs? Like batters in baseball have their walk-up songs. Would you like to see like each individual player? But then the risk that you have with the MLS is you're probably running the risk of a lot of songs that people have no clue what they are, with being, foreign artists or stuff like that.
Oh, I mean,
Do you like just having or do you prefer just the one goal celebration song for everybody because everybody knows what's coming?
yeah, I mean, you fail to mention that Major League Baseball is like a huge population of Latin-born players at this point, and they're playing a lot of songs
True.
that
Yeah, you're right.
don't resonate or not necessarily popular. It adds flair to it. I think it's a fun idea. I've never thought about that before, but that's pretty good. Anything, I'm all for celebrations. I'm all for flair. I like that stuff. So if you want to do something that's a bit unique, that stands out, and you got your own goal celebration song, let's play it. Let's play it through the PA. I think it'd be fun.
I can't see Two Lives Crew, "Oh See Me So Horny" being
No, I
busted
don't think
out
that one
throughout.
flies.
If you had a goal celebration song, David, what would your song be there?
I mean, that was,
Or Dave,
to be honest,
I
that was
thought you
probably going to be mine. So I can't really take it since Giannis Horn's gonna use it. But
Yeah, yeah.
We'll
I'm
have to
not
think
for the
on that.
personal. I'm not for the personalized one. I love the set, like the team one. I would love what I would love that they would do is they played the whatever song it was, change it every year or whatever, and read out the stadium. Like every light goes down except red, and it's just like Kramer's apartment when the chicken roaster sign is on. That's what I want.
dude,
Like
let me say
Austin,
one thing on
Austin
this.
does in their stadium where they go green.
Green.
You would want it to be like red.
My son just got one of these Kansas City Chiefs signs in his room, and it's bright red, and it looks like the Kenny Rogers sign. I'm like, he's going to end up changing rooms with me at some point, and I'm going to go in there like acting like him, just like the episode. It's brutal. First of all, it's an ugly sign because it's the Chiefs. Secondly,
boy.
this bright red
boy.
is just horrendous. It's horrendous.
Oh boy, oh boy.
What are your thoughts on the Klaus comment, Dave? Curious.
I'm just so tired of having the conversation. It's such a, it's an overused trope at this point. Like, yeah, dude, he needs to score. We get it. But if he's creating chances and, nobody scored this weekend. So who do we blame this weekend? It wasn't just him.
Sounds like my man and Dave Sperry need to get together and go bowling.
Yeah, Dave Spursy. Yeah.
I'll tell you who a lot of people were blaming was the collars. Boy, people will not let that go. I tell you that.
I'll be honest with you. I want to talk about this for a second. I saw it in person. People are like, oh, just wait till you see it in person. It's going to look so good. I want 2 points on this. One, I thought it looked pinker. Even in stadium, I thought the whole thing looked pinker than the jersey
It popped
last year.
super pink on TV.
It popped pink it popped
Yeah.
pink.
I got to get my eyes checked. man. I
It
thought
popped
looked
pink in
more
real
bad.
life too. I
I'm
believe.
not saying I don't like it.
And I saw it in, they had them all on display, and I saw it. I touched it, and yeah, to me it's worse in person. I don't like it. I just don't. And so much so, like when they're on the field outside of the pinkish tint to it, you can't really tell a difference, which I like because it's like a minimal change. At least from where I was sitting, you don't notice the collar. At least I didn't because my eyes are bad and I refuse to wear glasses. But when I saw it up close and personal, I don't get it. And that, you know what? That's the non-European soccer traditionalist in me, I suppose. I just don't understand. That's all I
I
got.
think it was unnecessary.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You cut that little half collar off. Do you then like the jersey?
Balling.
Like,
Yes.
so is my only gripe that I personally have with it is your big detail that you were trying to highlight was those 5 stripes, and
Can't see
they're
'em.
just so faint. I would
Faint.
rather
Subtle.
those make those a little bit more poppy to me, but
I
you know me,
liked
I'm fine.
I like
I'm
the
fine with the
blue.
color. Just
I like the blue and yellow accents of the first jersey better. I just like it better. And you know what? That's okay. We're in America here, I believe. We can have opinions and we can agree to disagree. I think it's not good, and I think the other one was better, and that's my take on it.
well,
Moving
maybe they'll
on.
make you happy with next year with the new away jersey.
I like the current away. You know what I wish? I wish they would just keep a jersey for a couple of years. That's what I wish. I don't like
Well,
the
you got to
constant
move.
change.
You got to move merch. You got to move.
I get it. Well, I think they might have a tough time selling this one. That's all I'm saying.
Not so far.
Oh.
No, I think so far. I don't think this one's selling as hot as the last one. I hope I'm wrong, but I personally didn't.
It's a lot of
I know it's
pre-orders
cold,
going
but I
down.
didn't see a lot of them. Next, we'll go to Dave Spursy, or Dave Sperry, as he likes to be known outside of this podcast. He said, "Well, boys, it's awesome to be able to have footy talk about. That said, we need a goal scorer." I mean, you had to know
It was
that
coming.
Spurs.
That was so
coming back.
2024, Spurry. Come on, man.
What will he say? Like, say we do just continue to go on a run where we're scoring. Like,
We need another goal scorer.
No, he said it last year. He said we finally have a goal scorer. I think he
No, we
said that
need a
about
second.
Simon Betcher. I think he
We
said
need a
that.
second goal
but
scorer.
I don't think you could say that week in and week out. Like, he can't sign off every week being like, we finally have a goal scorer. We finally have a goal scorer.
Hopefully that they can.
We've discussed that this is America, and he can do what he wants.
It's true.
This is true.
Yeah.
Personally, even if we score 5, I hope he still finishes off.
He
just
should.
'cause that's his
Just
tag.
calling card.
Yeah.
It's what the people know him
Yes.
for.
Exactly.
Man of the people.
Other than supporting a terrible team, that's the other thing to know him for. Last one that we have on Twitter is from St. Louis City SC fan. They said, "How many points do you think City needs in their first 5 games to feel like we are on the right track?" This is a good question, tough question too, because you try to be realistic with expectations, but at the same time, feel like last year we dropped so many points that we know how valuable points, especially early on in the season,
Points are precious.
can be.
So
I'm looking at
you've
the
got
next couple games. You got San Diego, you got LA Galaxy, you got Seattle, Philadelphia. That's a tough
That's really
run
hard.
of your first
Is
5
Philly
games.
at home or on the road?
road.
That's tough, man. That's really
3 out
tough.
of 4 on the road.
So yeah, you go on a trip out west to San Diego and LA Galaxy. I think Seattle's back at home, if I believe. Yeah,
Yep.
Seattle's back at home, but Seattle, they're projecting them to probably finish high, if not win the West. And then you got Philadelphia, who it's going to be just a tough match, period. But let alone you got your old coach going up against you, that's going to look to make a point. To me, I think if you come out with 7 points,
That's what I was going
Yeah,
to say.
I was going to say
That's what
7
I
or
was gonna
8.
say.
I was going to say
7
7 or
points out
8.
there.
I think that you have a chance to pick up a point this week, big time. I think you have a chance to pick up 3 against the Galaxy. That Galaxy team that was on the pitch
They're
Sunday
hurting.
was not good.
They're banged up,
they're,
right?
They're banged up, and
they
they
got rid of a
lost
lot of players.
Yeah, and they got rid of a lot of guys. I think that's a chance. That's a better chance to pick up 3 than this week. Then you come back home. You got to pick up 3 at home. I don't care who it is. If it's Seattle, LAFC, Cincinnati, you got to pick up 3 at home. And then Philly on the road, I think there's a chance to pick up 1. Yeah, I think 7 or 8.
If you don't have 7 coming out of that first 5, you're looking back at week 1 as a big missed opportunity. A big, big missed
Absolutely.
opportunity. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. To Dave's point, you can kind of find a reason somewhat, especially when we talk about odds as far as being away. But when it comes to home and a place that you're known for your atmosphere and all this type of stuff, you can't get away with dropping points as far as that goes. So
Yep.
I think 7's a good call. And we'll finish this one out with our Reddit friends.
So we had a couple on Reddit. A new one from Jake Dougal, who is a member of STL Santos. So shout out. We know we like Santos.
Hello, Jake.
This one. What's that? Hello,
I just
Jake.
said hello, Jake.
We kind of answered this one before, but I wanted to read it since Jake took the time to post. Who stood out for you in the first game? Any changes that you would have made? He thought that subbing Siglio for Klaus in the last 5-10 would have given the crowd a little spark. I agree with that. He was impressed with Watts. He keeps getting better and better every game. Overall, liked the showing. Match day 1, not the result we would have liked, but better than 0 points. So we kind of talked about who stood out already. any
If you
changes
have
I would
one
have
change
made.
to the starting 11, what would you want to see?
I mean, I would have dropped Giannis back to the back three and played Wallum in that spot. I think.
To
I
me,
think
that's
that's
with
yeah.
personnel and fitness right now. That's the only change I can really see being.
I mean, if yeah, I would say fitness wise, Toicher, you
If
don't really
Toicher
want to
can't
put him in if
start,
you
yeah.
can't really go, more than a half or whatever. But yeah, no, I liked it. We did get a note from Sly Fox last week, just a nice note about. Well, it took me to task about my jersey takes, which is to be expected.
He was spot on about Seattle. Spot on.
Yeah, it's just
I tell you this,
are
I
you
wanna
Sly
give-
Fox?
I want to give Sly Fox some credit on how well they write out their submissions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not as good.
Very
I'm not good enough writer
writing.
to be Sly
That's
Fox.
true. That's true. Yeah,
There'd have been a lot
that's
more.
very true.
Dave is dumb. His food tastes like you would. There'd be signs.
A lot of three-worded
Yeah.
sentences.
They're really impactful still. The last and most important submission, in my opinion, of the week comes from the GOAT. Femny has weighed in. Everyone, Femny has
struck.
weighed in. Who's Femny?
Who the hell is Fimney?
Who the hell is Femny? Femny is everyone, and Femny is no one. All right, Femny. If you had a third ear, where would you put it? Also, put a note in this one that, or ask, is that a giraffe on the banner of the South End Supporters subreddit? No, it's not. It's a businessman. I don't know what you're talking about.
I want to make a note that Eric has Jerry the giraffe over his right shoulder. So that's
a
been making an
businessman.
appearance the entire time.
That's clearly a businessman wearing a tie.
Our friend Jeffrey.
That's-
I don't
yes.
know what anybody's
So
talking about.
so in true Fimney fashion, he has made us think more than we would like to think this evening. And I always have follow-ups. I wish Fimney would join the podcast at some point because I have a lot of
Maybe
follow-ups.
get Femny on.
I'm not sure he's a real
Do
person.
they take calls from prison?
Yeah, it's a good question. I always have
Corporals.
questions. I always have clarifying questions on this because if you had a third ear, is this like common? Do other people have third ears too? Do we all live in a society with third ears, or
What the
is,
hell's the point of having a third ear?
I don't know. But
I ever heard. To your point, I don't think I've ever heard of anybody medically having a
yeah,
third ear. Like third nipples, I think are common, but I don't think I've ever heard people.
I don't know if they're common.
I don't think they're that
Well,
common, Eric.
Well, not common, but like if you hear about somebody having one, you're not like, whoa, what
All right.
the? Like,
Eric needs to go
that
see
is,
a
like-
dermatologist after this episode. I
I was
think.
not prepared for Eric to go into the nipple realm.
Wait, you guys have only two? Oh,
This is it's the first and hopefully last time nipples are discussed on this podcast. I think a third ear
It's
somewhere.
Giannis' song. It's got me thinking.
Yeah, man, no kidding. That one threw you off a little bit.
Yeah.
I like an ear. I like an ear somewhere not on my face. A third ear for sure. I've got two up there. I don't think I need a third one there, and I don't want it to be visible if other people aren't walking around with 3 ears. So I'm going to say it's going to be somewhere on the torso, maybe the upper thigh, maybe. I don't know. Nowhere near my face.
But like physiologically, does it make sense on your upper thigh? Like
Doesn't
at that
make
point,
sense,
it's
David.
just,
Doesn't make sense anyway.
Well, no, it
mean,
might.
that's
Listen,
fine.
if you think about functionally speaking, if you did have to have a third ear, where would you want it? You would want to maximize your. It wouldn't be stereophonic at that point. It would be even more than stereophonic because you'd have 3 audio inputs. So really, you'd want it directly on the back of your head, right?
I
If
was
you were
gonna say,
using
I'd
it,
put it
if you
right
if you
there
were using
and
it,
then grow my
if it
hair
was
out over top of it.
specifically for use, then yeah, because your ears point forward, right? So it's tough if somebody's directly behind you. That's theoretically where you'd be hearing the worst from. So I mean, from that standpoint, it have to be on the back of your head, right?
Hear people talk about talking behind your back.
Yeah.
That's my first thought was like right on the back, just below like where your hat would sit. Like so you're not wearing it because I wear hats a lot, so I wouldn't want that to interfere.
Yeah.
And then I would just grow my hair out to cover over top of it, so it's not like
Yeah.
a standout thing. But then to your point, then there's a little bit of function to it.
I just wanted to say that this is breaking news. Australian performance artist Stellark has surgically.
Oh, yeah.
Who doesn't? I mean, who's not familiar with that guy's work?
Oh, yeah.
He's been wild since day one, always pushing the boundaries.
Big fan for a long
I
time.
bet that would be JGR's goal celebration song is from
Yeah.
Lark.
Well, he had surgically implanted a third ear on his arm. As we all know, Stelarc is known for pushing the boundaries of the human body. And
Wild card.
he created the ear from lab-grown cells in 2006. So the arm he goes with. Something to think about.
Yeah, it just doesn't seem like
the list.
as advantageous as on the back of your head. But
No,
hey,
listen.
who am I to tell Stelarchy where to put his third ear?
If you were eavesdropping on, now think about this, right? Now we're going to workshop this, and then this is all the attention we're going to put on this one. But if you were eavesdropping on somebody in a conversation, and you could just kind of reach out a little bit like this, your head's still back here, they'd never see it coming, you could hear the whole conversation, I think the arm's the answer.
But isn't the whole point of eavesdropping being
Yeah.
very nonchalant? Don't
Yeah.
you think sitting like this would draw a little bit of attention?
You're wearing sleeves, they're never going to think you've got a third ear implanted on your arm. I think it would work.
Yeah.
I think if you're going that logic, it would be better on the ankle.
Okay, ankle's good
You
too.
could be-
Ankle's
You
good
could be
too.
under a table
you-
and just
but
putting
you-
your foot out a little bit.
Then
Couldn't wear
then the
joggers
third ear
anymore.
I just don't think that there's any advantage of being on your ankle because then it's either exposed or it's covered with sock or pant, therefore muffling the sound and taking the advantage away.
Here's what I want. I want Fimney to write in next week with his South End submission. I want an explanation on why a third ear would be advantageous.
Yeah,
That's a great-
I think
no,
I think
that is a
Femney
great
should
point. I think
yeah.
each week he should follow up with the
answer
previous-
the one from
Yes, and be like,
previous
this
week.
is
I like
my-
that.
Yeah,
I
his
like that a
answer
lot.
to this
Yeah,
I like it
stuff.
too.
Yeah. Good stuff from Femney though, and that's all we
Call
have
in,
from
Big
Reddit.
Femney.
Call in Big Fimney.
in
Who the
Big
hell is
Fimney.
Fimney? This guy, or listen, could be a female. I don't think so. I think most women would be too
No
smart
women listen to this show.
to put in what Fimney does. But, you know, Fimney, hey, he's an animal. The guy brings it strong every single week. And we always appreciate the Felix's Pizza Pub South End submission. Dave, before we break, I want to talk real quick about the official swag sponsor of South End Supporters.
The South End Supporter Swag sponsor, also the official sponsor of the recording studio that we're coming to you from right now. That's Warrior Logo Wear in Muscuda, Illinois, 12 East Main Street, Muscuda, Illinois. In fact, the place to go for all your individual and team sportswear needs, t-shirts, hats, hoodies, all your sports uniforms, all your promo swag. Warrior Logo Wear is the place to go. They are a proud veteran-owned business, and they bring that same dedication and attention to detail that they had in their service time to every one of your projects. They'll get your custom apparel to you quickly without sacrificing quality. Also, bring your brand to life online with Warrior Logo Wear because it's never been easier. They will help you launch your custom web store and handle everything from setup to shipping. These custom web stores can include fully customizable online store with your products featuring your logo, or if you need help designing, they can help you design a logo. No order minimums. It's the perfect. They are perfect size for any event or company. Free store setup, no hidden costs. You know how they like to sneak hidden costs in these days, particularly with ticket prices, but not at Warrior Logo Wear, Jack. They ship products directly to your customers or employees. So check them out on Instagram, all lowercase, at Warrior Logo Wear, on Twitter or X at Warrior Logo Wear. That's a capital W, capital L, capital W, or at warriorlogowear.com.
Eric, where can people continue to put in these great submissions at?
Yeah, keep sending them our way. On Instagram, we're South End Supporters. Our Twitter and our Reddit is capital SES_podcast STL. And then also make sure you're following us on our Facebook page. Keep up with all things South End Supporters.
Another episode in the books. Want to say thanks, as always, to the sponsors of this fine program, especially Ready to Live Wellness, our title sponsor at 1530 South Kings Highway Boulevard in St. Louis. If you are looking to get swole like Eric Cole, you've got to check out Ready to Live Wellness. And, of course, the sponsor of our studios, Warrior Logo Wear. Check them out at 12 East Main Street in Muscuda, Illinois. I've said it before, my closet is half Warrior Logo Wear at this point, and continue to add to that collection. The hat that I'm wearing, Probably this shirt, I would imagine I got in there as well, but get it online. Go to their storefront in Mascoutah. It is a great place, and you will not be disappointed with the quality of that material that they're using. For Eric Cole, for the Monday Morning Center back Dave Wyckoff, my name is David Heck. You've been listening to Southland Supporters. We'll see you next week, and until then, let's go City.